We've arrived at Badlands National Park in South Dakota, one of the most fascinating places in the United States. We'll spend the next 18 hours exploring some of the park's most famous areas. But before we start hiking, let's go back a few hours. We're coming from Minneapolis, and our first stop was Sioux Falls, a city named after the spectacular waterfalls of the Big Sioux River, right in its heart. From there, we continued to Badlands, where we'll spend the night, so we can catch one of the most beautiful sunrises we've ever seen, and the sweet finale of this weekend, before heading back home, will be Mount Rushmore. Our first stop was Sioux Falls, the largest city in South Dakota, built around the spectacular waterfalls of the Big Sioux River. The falls have been an important place for the Dakota Sioux for thousands of years, long before the city itself existed. The water drops over layers of pink quartzite, a rock that is more than 1.7 billion years old, creating a series of cascades right in the heart of the city. The main waterfall is about 100 feet wide, and the water drops roughly 20 feet through the rocky gorge. It may not be the biggest waterfall in America, but seeing such a powerful natural feature surrounded by a modern city makes it quite special. Unfortunately, the experience was slightly spoiled by a strong industrial smell coming from the nearby area. But this was only a short stop for us. We grabbed a quick snack, took a short walk around the falls, enjoyed the views, and continued our journey west, towards Badlands National Park. And finally, in the evening, we arrived at Badlands National Park. On the way in, we paid the $30 entrance fee per vehicle and headed straight to an evening ranger program about the bats living in the park and the incredible night sky we could see on such a clear night. For accommodation, we chose Cedar Pass Lodge, one of the few places to stay right inside the park. Its location is excellent, especially if you want to start exploring early in the morning without having to drive in from outside. We paid around $300 for a night for the three of us, and considering the location, we think it was a really good choice. And if you think Badlands is just a landscape of rocks and empty valleys, think again. The park is full of wildlife. You can find bison, bighorn sheep, pronghorn, mule deer, prairie dogs, and even the extremely rare black-footed ferret. And at night, while everything around us was completely dark and quiet, we could hear coyotes howling somewhere in the distance. Early in the morning, we leave our little cabin and drive about 5 kilometers to the trailhead. On the way, we meet our first wild resident of the park, although he clearly has no interest in making friends with us. We park the car, grab our cameras, and get ready to enjoy what turns out to be one of the most beautiful sunrises we've ever seen. Oh yes, mule deer are actually quite common here, at least in the early morning before the crowds arrive. And after these unforgettable views, it's time to head deeper into the park. We're taking the Castle Trail, stopping at the fossil exhibit, and then, on our way back, connecting to the Medicine Route Trail. By the end of the hike, our watches show around 22,000 steps, roughly 10 miles or 16 kilometers. But before you set off, there's one very important thing to remember. Bring plenty of water. We recommend at least 3 liters per person. We didn't come across anywhere to refill our bottles along the way, and after 9 in the morning, the sun was already showing us just how powerful it can be here. So plenty of water, good shoes, and plenty of time. Because Badlands is definitely not a place you want to rush through. But Badlands is not only about spectacular landscapes. This place has a fascinating history that goes back thousands of years. Long before Europeans arrived, the area was home to the Lakota people, who knew these lands as part of their homeland. The rugged landscape provided shelter, hunting grounds, and an important source of water. Later, during the 19th century, the arrival of American settlers and the expansion of the United States dramatically changed the region. The Lakota were pushed from much of their traditional territory, and the area became part of the larger conflict between Native Americans and the U.S. government. Badlands also became famous for something completely different: its fossils. Millions of years of erosion have exposed layers of rock containing remarkably well-preserved remains of prehistoric animals. Scientists have discovered ancient horses, camels, rhinoceroses, and other mammals that lived here long before humans. And perhaps the most fascinating part is that the story is still being written. The landscape continues to erode today, slowly revealing new fossils and changing the Badlands a little more every year. And now we've reached the halfway point of our hike, the fossil exhibit, where a short educational trail takes you through the prehistoric history of Badlands. But if you're looking for food or refreshments, you'll be searching in vain. So we reach into our own supplies and take a quick break to refuel. Of course, you can also reach this spot by car, so if you don't have half a day for a hike like we did, this is a great option for seeing at least part of the incredible scenery. After about 15 minutes, we turn around and head back, this time connecting to the Medicine Route Trail. The views are completely different from this side, and we finally start seeing more people. On the way here, we had passed only 3 hikers. The sun is now fully up and showing us what Badlands can feel like in the middle of the day. But we're still on a mission. We're looking for bison. So despite the heat and our already slightly murderous pace, there's no slowing down just yet. And finally, we reach the bison. You'd need an incredible amount of luck to spot these massive animals along the hiking trails, but your chances are much better if, like us, you continue towards Mount Rushmore and take Sage Creek Road. Just remember, these are enormous wild animals, and they can be surprisingly fast. Never approach a bison, either on foot or by car. Keep your distance and let them decide how close they want to come. We were lucky enough to see several of them, and honestly, watching these huge animals roaming freely across the prairie is an experience worth seeing. And bison aren't the only wildlife you'll find here. Around the park, you'll also see plenty of prairie dogs, adorable little animals living in huge colonies. There are literally thousands of them, and once you notice one, you'll probably start seeing them everywhere. And finally, we arrive at Mount Rushmore, one of the most famous monuments in the entire United States. Carved into the granite face of the Black Hills, the monument features the faces of 4 American presidents: George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Theodore Roosevelt, and Abraham Lincoln. Construction began in 1927 under the direction of sculptor Gutzon Borglum and continued for 14 years until the project was officially completed in 1941. And here's something quite remarkable. No one died during the construction of Mount Rushmore, despite the incredibly dangerous work involved in drilling, blasting, and carving the mountain. More than 400 workers took part in the project, working high above the ground using ropes, scaffolding, and explosives. Around 90% of the mountain was carved using dynamite, before workers finished the details by hand. Each face is about 60 feet tall, and the entire monument has become one of the most recognizable symbols of the United States. And after everything we've seen during this trip, Mount Rushmore feels like the perfect final stop before we head back home.